for every American? Can we say we can make something available for every American that would be fair? Because if you have a company or corporation deducting $30,000 or $200,000 a year on political activity, how many employees does that represent? Because there's going to be a variant. You're going to have some companies that are going to say, yeah, we got 10,000 employees. That still works out to an average of a lot of money per employee. But I think that we need to establish an average set of mathematics here that are fair to every citizen. And then look upon it and say, what do we do about citizens that would like to participate but are financially trapped? So there we have to again address making constitutional days, political days, so people can claim and collect. I don't want to just make something where people are going to say, yeah, I'm just going to put in for it and do whatever I want with it. No, I think this needs to be something where, yeah, you're going to need the money. You need the money to keep yourself running on it. You're going to have house payments, all this other stuff, whatever it is, where people can draw upon this. People can participate in this in different ways and say, I want to do certain things. So there should be a minimum figure available to every citizen regardless. And then we should have a system of accelerated extra participation levels that deal with letting people have the option to participate. I think we need to look at this mass economic model and say, what are the areas that we need looked at? What is fair game territory and what is not fair game territory? And I feel that the Constitution of the United States is an excellent guideline when you read it, because there's that. Then we have the minutes of Congress. We have the articles. We have some various important speeches that were given into the passage of certain types of bills, where we have extra extended arguments laying out what the bill was supposed to mean. Some people lose touch. They read the actual bill. They didn't necessarily read the speeches that go with it. The claims of we have created this and we are defining that it means this. And, you can have people saying, well, some people are saying things that are false, more so in modern times than others. But I think we need to come to certain levels of understanding of hard economic development, guaranteed backing of every citizen, guaranteed long-term stability of Social Security, of disability insurance. And I want to close the gap. I want to finish closing the gap and say most people fall into the following category. They either are going to have Social Security or they're going to have disability because they're either working or they're disabled. The vast majority, more than 50% of the country, fit into that category. But we can have other categories. We can say unforeseen events. There's lots of people who tell you there's all these unforeseen events that fit into this in various ways. And it can seemingly be never ending. Why not bridge the gap for guaranteed income? We've had people talking about that, but is it justified? I want to say at an insurance level, let's not talk about it as welfare. Let's talk about it as, okay, if you can't find a job and you're not disabled, I've missed the third cog, unemployment. The in-between unemployment factor, people pay into unemployment insurance, there's that. So between those three, there's very little gap left. So we can close the gap and have a perfect mathematical equation. We can close the gap, have a perfect mathematical equation. But I don't really believe in welfare. So how do we close the gap? Well, the gap is closed by saying it's simple. If you're not employed, you're not disabled, or you're not collecting unemployment, waiting to get locked back in the particular field that you want, then you're unemployed. Well, if you're unemployed, you can also have another option. The other option is we will guarantee you to be a carpenter, to build hard assets of your own. And this means that people will take leave. They will take gaps in their work. You can be a teacher, for instance. You have a lot of teachers that would have a 9-month schedule. They'd have 3 months off. 3 months off with no pay, I'd mention. Well, part of what would be happening now is they could step up and say, guaranteed backing to build their own home with their own hands. Now, maybe you're going to sub some of that out. Maybe you're going to do absolutely every part of it. It's your right to be able to do every part of it. But let's say you sub it out. Myself, I would sub out. I would hire extra hands to get it done faster. So into this guaranteed backing to build your own home comes two ways. Number one, you're going to pay yourself a wage. If we're working under the concept of borrowed money pool, you're going to be making a wage, which means as you're doing this, you'll be able to make payments. Now, creative payment schedules. There's a lot of ways you can get creative. We can say at a national level, we could seriously consider and say, okay, yeah, 30-year loan. Yeah, definitely that's normalized. But could we say the first 15 years interest only? Well, some people have been doing interest only payments. So it's possible to do an interest only payment situation. Can we also turn around and say, can we take 2 or 3 years worth of payments and make those deferred? In other words, a creative scheduling of unicogism where this loan has more capabilities. In other words, you're finished with the project. You haven't designed to start another project to file on, to go for. So you're in between and you can't find a job. You don't have unemployment insurance. You don't have this, that, or the other thing. Do we incorporate unemployment insurance up to certain amounts of time naturally within the scope? I'm going to say yes, that's a good idea. But still, looking at the overall concept, we can juggle these things around to where, okay, life's hard, you got sick, whatever. We're going to allow for payments to be juggled. Oh, you had to be in the hospital. We're going to allow for payments to be juggled. Don't worry about the payments. This is a unicog. We're going to float that money onto the back end. Generally, real estate does increase in value. I don't think we need to lay upon that and say we should always count on it. I don't want to perpetuate unfairness and greed and unfair real estate price increases. On the other hand, I also want to be a realist, that there's a certain amount of fairness to say that certain areas and prime areas end up getting built up and there's no more prime area available. So that's going to, indicate a different market tendency. The concept, Beverly Hills, for some reason, is worth more money. And most people would say, gee, that's kind of a no-brainer. We know why. It's full of people who are rich and famous. And it's a very beautiful area. So, yeah, we can address some of this and certain realities. But tracking back into this, if we're going to have a more practical political participation, we need to provide for people to be guaranteed to be able to do that. And I think we need to look at what it is we need forward movement on. If it has to do with building hard assets, that helps the country because you did the backing thing, you paid yourself a wage, you made payments based upon the management of this whole thing. It's a very good formula. It works very well. The project finishes. You need to move on to getting a regular job again or another project. In other words, let's say that you are an Indian. What's wrong with Indian philosophy? They move and they would live in different areas at different times. Why? Weather was a thing. Well, why not back citizens and say, okay, you did one project, you got your home, you have to make payments, and you don't have work lined up. Okay, another project. You're guaranteed backing to go build a cabin or a second house, vacation home. So you're going to make a wage, be able to make all your payments as you're continuing with this project. We can be very creative with how we adjust the loans on a 30-year and how it's going to work. Interest only, balloon factors. Again, all of these are private concepts. There's a lot that can be worked with this. If we've been able to do it privately on and off for many Americans, why can't we do it as a generalized standard system? Because guaranteeing new growth, new hard asset generation is a good thing. Because the difference between the wholesale value, say 70 cents on the dollar, means that 30 cents on the dollar gets to be looked at as a new potential value zone that we know has a substantial percentage of being realized. We know that's substantial, that the retail values do come in from time to time, and we know usually more than 50%. So, this is something that's very equatable, very workable. So it should be obvious to people that the government is going to print money based upon the new assets. They're going to print money, whatever interest is made by banks, you have to print that money, or the entire economic system will become imbalanced. So I want to move a new system to where if you're building your own home, you're being backed, but you're creating a hard asset, that 30% zone, the government might say, look, half, we're only going to print half, we're only going to do 15%. So that 30 becomes a 15%. They're only doing half. And I want to do this another way. Well, you and perhaps other people help do the work. Half that money, 7.5, that's being printed, it can't be spent irresponsibly. Why? You're a partner. You did the work. You're a partner. Government's a corporation. It's a business. We're partners. We're stockholders. The 7.5% goes to you, sort of, except you have other people that you hired to help you. So you have to equate a percentage. Well, on your payout books, you can equate a percentage of hours time in and figure out what their bonus would be. And the bonus comes in to say half of that money printed, it comes directly to you.